Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Valerie. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. If you've been here, thank you very much for sticking around. So today I'm doing a part 2 on the case of Josue. So on my previous video, we kind of went over the story of Josue, and I showed a few clips of the interview with Josue. And just to give a quick recap, Josue came from a poor family, and he wanted to make a pact with so that way he can pretty much gain riches. And he ended up finding a book where he did a ritual and he did contact, and in order to get riches he had to sacrifice someone, and he did. He ended up sacrificing his grandmother, and after a while of being tormented, he did decide that he no longer wanted to be in that pact. So I'm going to continue on with this. I ended the last video because I did get a little bit freaked out. But anyway, so continuing with the story. During that interview, he was getting a little jumpy. He was experiencing a lot of spiritual activity during that interview. So during a commercial break, the host, Juan Ramon, that's his name, he ended up contacting a pastor or a priest, I believe it is, Christian priest. And wait, are they called that? No, I think if it's Christian, it's a pastor. So he ended up contacting a pastor to come to the radio station and help him out with this phone call. And when the pastor got on the phone call with Josue, things started getting a little bit freaky. So at first he did ask Josue, are you sure you want to finish this pact? You want to cut ties with this specific, you want to cut ties with the entities? And Josue said, yes, I'm ready, like, let's do this. So the pastor did tell him, you will need to contact a local Christian church and explain to them what's going on with you, and they can help you cut ties. So what's really freaky is the fact that when he did say this, you literally can hear voices in the background. Like, I thought I heard it, so I had to rewind several times, and you can hear voices. And I'll go ahead and enter the clip in a minute. But when they hear the voices, the pastor goes, Josue, you're gonna have to, do you have a Bible in your home? And Josue says, yes, I do. He says, okay, please open the Bible. So Josue grabs the Bible, and then he states, I can't open the Bible. And the pastor says, what do you mean? And Josue says, it's too heavy. Like, I cannot even lift it. It's on the ground. And he says, okay, well, on the ground, try to open the Bible. And he's like, I can't. It's too hard. It's too hard to even open. So in that moment, the pastor grabs his own Bible and he starts saying verses with Josue, and he tells him, repeat after me, say this prayer with me. And as he's doing this, Josue starts like coughing and he can't breathe. It seems like something is stopping him from repeating these words. And you can hear it in the interview. You can hear that he's coughing and can't breathe. So let me go ahead and show you the clip.
¿Qué características tiene que tener Josue? ¿Qué está pasando, Josue?
No, están hablando, están gritando estos seres, pero no pasa nada, Señor, continúe.
Y ellos están escuchándome. Jesucristo los venció en la cruz. Jesucristo, con la sangre preciosa que derramó en esa cruz, dio libertad del pecado, dio libertad al hombre para poder encontrar a su Creador. Jesucristo es el Señor de nuestra vida, es el Rey de Reyes y Señor de Señores, y es el único que tiene toda autoridad para desechar lo maligno, porque Cristo Jesús es el Señor y no hay otro como Él. Él dio la revelación y Él inspiró a hombres contigo.
usted.
En el nombre de Cristo Jesús, te ordeno que te calles. Te ordeno que te calles. En el nombre de Jesucristo, en el nombre de Cristo, cállate. Cállate en el nombre de Cristo Jesús y escucha, Josué. No prestes atención a esas voces. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Josué, en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Cristo Jesús es mayor. Cristo Jesús te ama. Cristo Jesús te quiere limpiar y liberar. Cristo Jesús es mayor y quiere hacerlo. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. En Cristo Jesús. No prestes atención. No prestes atención. No prestes atención.
No, es que Dios mío, no, yo no escucho nada,
No,
So it looks so disturbing that the pastor is saying these words with Josue and he can't even say them. He can't even speak. He seems so uncomfortable, and apparently one of the pages in the Bible ended up igniting, and one of the computers in the radio station ended up glitching out. At that time, it looked like Josue was getting a little too uncomfortable, where all this stuff was going on in the background with the spirits that were in his home. According to him, there was 4 spirits, so it was getting so uncomfortable. He told them to stop. He's like, okay, that's it, stop. I can't do this anymore, just stop right here. So they said, okay. They completely stopped the interview right then and there, and they told, and Juan Ramon, who is the host, ended up asking Josue to please call back on Monday because he was really concerned for him and he really wanted to help. So he asked them to call back that Monday. So Monday came around and Josue never called. Juan Ramon, he asked the staff to please get a hold of him. When the staff finally got a hold of Josue, or someone in communication with Josue, they ended up telling the host that he was in the hospital because he had been attacked and he had been stabbed. It took 2 weeks for the host to be able to physically speak to Josue, and during that phone call, Josue told him that he was attacked by the spirits that were in the home when the pastor was trying to get rid of them. And then he said a tall black shadow stabbed him with a crucifix that his own grandmother had given him. He was upset because the pastor was trying to get rid of him, and this was pretty much Josue's fault. So after that, the host still tried to get a hold of Josue, trying to help him out, and he couldn't get a hold of him for 2 months. So he ended up visiting Josue's town. He didn't know Josue's exact address, so he started asking neighbors around there which house was his, and apparently a lot of neighbors were telling him, don't go there, like that house is haunted, you know, that a lot of bad things happen in that house, don't go there. But of course, you know, he still went. So when he knocked on the door, a tall, skinny, pale man had answered the door, and Juan Ramon, the host, he asked the man for Josue, and the person didn't respond vocally. He just shook his head and pretty much as a no, and slammed the door. Also, I forgot to mention that when the door was open, the host did say that there was a strong stench coming out of the home. I'm assuming it's sulfur because everyone says that. I've never actually smelled it myself, but a lot of people have said that when there's bad entities, that there's a strong like sulfur type of smell, and this is what the host had smelled. And when he described this man to Josue said he didn't recognize who that person was. There should not have been anyone in his home. The host described the home to Josue, and he did verify that was his home. So nobody knows who that man was. So 9 years later, Juan Ramon ended up having his own TV show, and during one of the episodes or series, they were trying to do a type of series like those then and now type of stories where they're kind of revisiting stories that they had done. And one of the stories was Josue. They ended up inviting him to do an interview, a live interview, and Josue, he did agree to do the interview, but he asked that this interview be done in water. So they ended up doing this whole interview with him in the water in a little boat. And during the interview, you can tell that when they're talking about what's going on, kind of revisiting everything that happened to Josue, he starts like convulsing or something. I don't know, like just kind of shaking her, and you could tell that something's bothering him. And during that interview also, the host, you could tell he's kind of holding on to his stomach, like something is wrong with him at that time. They don't express it during the interview, but you could tell something's going on.
Mostraba todo este respeto y eso, digo, lo proyectaba, insisto, físicamente, y lo noté un poco ansioso, como que empezaba ya a manotear un poquito más intranquilo.
Conforme iba avanzando la entrevista, yo estaba tomando imágenes de apoyo y quería yo grabar algún detalle, sobre todo del entrevistado, y me llamaba mucho la atención que él en todo momento cerraba sus manos y se las llevaba al estómago.
Yo al principio, cuando estábamos viendo la nota antes de salir al aire, yo pensé que estaba haciendo alguna especie de protección con sus manos para evitar la cuestión energética, no sé.
Aquí tenemos agarrado a una deidad que estaba como un perro rabioso queriendo hacer cosas, entonces se ata para que no pueda ya hacer más daño, sobre todo para poder tener esta entrevista sin ningún problema. Y es que cuando me reúno con Juan Ramón, fusionamos cosas y llamamos cosas.
Hemos visto una cosa muy extraña que noté también, es que cuando nos acercamos Juan Ramón y yo a saludarlo, él de inmediato saludó a Juan Ramón, pues bueno, como alguien familiar que ya le era. Le dio la mano, tal cual, le dio un apretón de mano, y cuando yo lo iba a saludar, a mí me dio la mano izquierda.
Mira, si un anillo que no nos puede enseñar, de verdad está muy cargado de energía. Él siempre tiene que andar con ese anillo, pero también tiene que andar con esto, para protección. Ese anillo no se lo puede quitar físicamente. Fue hasta Brasil, incluso a que se lo quitara un gran chamán, no pudo hacerlo, pero sé que ya muy pronto, ¿verdad, Josue?
Sí, en su mano derecha él traía un guante, traía un guante que es donde traía, parece que el anillo que se quiere quitar, pero todos los demás que lo saludamos, no lo saludamos con su mano derecha, no le pudimos estrechar la mano derecha, fue la mano izquierda la que nos dio a todos, ¿sí? A Juan Ramón le dio la mano derecha.
So the next day, he ended up in the hospital for peritonitis. I'll put the word right here. So it's inflammation of the lining of the abdomen. And a few days later, he ended up actually dying. And what's really scary is the fact that the pastor that did this reading during the interview, trying to get rid of the spirits, he died too. The cameraman, he was there during that interview in the water. That cameraman ended up also going to the hospital for stomach issues. He ended up surviving, thank goodness, but he ended up getting sick for stomach issues too.
Nos empezamos a dar cuenta que no fue lo único que sucedió. También nos enteramos que uno de los camarógrafos que estaba, nuestro compañero Luis Ernesto, que estaba grabando la nota, también cayó al hospital.
También yo llegué a sentir una molestia en mi estómago.
The second host that was with Juan Ramón, he ended up getting into a car accident that same week, and he was hospitalized for several months, and I believe he also couldn't walk for several months.
Uno de nuestros compañeros, Mario Estrada, tuvo un accidente automovilístico muy fuerte.
Me fui a descansar y cuando yo iba ya hacia mi casa, iba manejando normal, tranquilo, las calles prácticamente vacías, porque pues después de la medianoche no hay mucho tráfico como en cualquier ciudad. Y de pronto sale un carro detrás de mí, pero se me cierra muy bruscamente, pero no vi ningún carro que estuviera cercano, y de pronto salió y me descontroló porque se me cerró muy fuerte y fui a chocar contra un poste.
And these are all the people surrounded that was trying to help Josue.
Nos empezamos a dar cuenta que todos esos eventos con gente que tuvo que ver con la nota se estaban desencadenando uno a uno, y nos empezó a dar como curiosidad de, bueno, esto.
So here's the creepy part. So if you remember in my first video, I had said that in order to get what Josue wanted, and in order to get that ring that was helping him, where he could be able to communicate with the spirits whenever he felt like it and get whatever he needed, he had to sacrifice his grandmother. And he admitted in video that or during the radio station, but I have it on video, he admitted that he sacrificed his grandmother to get this ring. So they had told him in order to keep this ring that he needed to sacrifice someone. So what a lot of people believe is that he ended up sacrificing the radio host so that way he can continue on keeping this ring. Because if you remember also in my first video, he had expressed that if the spirits showed him an upside down crucifix, that meant that he was gonna die. So he's still alive, and he was shown this crucifix. So even I believe this. Like, to me, that means like, okay, he was supposed to die, but I feel like he gave up the host and the pastor's lives in order to continue keeping this ring, and in order to continue this attachment to these spirits, because otherwise it's all too much of a coincidence. It's too much of a coincidence that everyone who tried to help him either got hurt or passed away, and he's okay. He's still alive and doing great. I mean, I'm not sure if he's doing great, but I'm saying he's still alive to this now. So I don't know. It's such a creepy story, and I'm glad to be able to share it with you guys. Let me know your thoughts on this story in the comments below. But I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. If you guys like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.